Welcome back to MotoringBox. I'm Sean McCullough and we are back once again with my AU Fairmont, which we're in the middle of doing a turbo conversion on. This week I was hoping to have the oil drain fitted for the turbo, that is drilling and sort of tapping an oil drain into the sump. But as you can see by an assortment of parts here in the engine bay that shouldn't be here, there's been an issue. You're watching MotoringBox, proudly supported by Century Batteries. I had to take this car the other day to get the air conditioner compressor and also the condenser replaced. The compressor in particular was extremely noisy. It sounded absolutely terrible whenever it was in use. The condenser as well had a bit of a leak, so I thought before we go any further with this turbo conversion, let's go and get them swapped out. On the drive over there though, I noticed there was a bit of belt squeak and I thought that's odd because about a year ago I replaced the pulley on the power steering pump with a metal one. I also put in a brand new water pump, a new belt, maybe a couple of idler pulleys as well, I don't remember, but the front of the engine should have been fine, so what was the squeak about? On the drive home, after the compressor and condenser were replaced, the squeak was even worse. That's when I popped the bonnet and had a look down the front of the engine, and I couldn't help but notice that the belt on the water pump pulley was sitting back, and the whole pulley itself, it's a plastic pulley, was kind of angled backwards as well. Now this water pump and pulley were only a year old, and I should have heeded the warnings from a few of you guys in the comments back in the day saying not to trust a Repco water pump. So that is a bit ridiculous, frankly. Not good enough. So definitely don't buy a Repco water pump for your AU Falcon unless you are going to replace the pulley, like we're doing today, with a metal one. So this is a new line branded metal pulley for, I think it suits E series all the way through to FG series Falcons. That's what it said in the listing anyway. We're going to put it on and hopefully solve the issues on the front of this engine for good. Now, funnily enough, I used a Repco branded pulley removal tool. It's like a $90-something set of tools that lets you remove pulleys, like a power steering pulley and also a water pump pulley, and also reinstall the pulleys too. So funnily enough, the Repco water pump sucks, but at least they have a tool you can buy to fix it. We're going to use the same tool, different fitting on the tool set to put this back on. So let's do that right now. So there's no keyway or anything on this at all. We literally have to put it onto the shaft and then use that tool to press it on. So we're going to sit that on the front there and then screw this into the shaft. You need a lot of Newton meters for this as well. So I'm actually using this huge, comically huge shifter. And I also have this 3/8 socket and wrench, which I actually have a handle from my jack slipped on there as well to use as a breaker bar. Might be easier getting this one on compared to getting the old one off, but yeah, I'm using these big tools to try and make it as easy as possible. Okay, that feels like it's actually bottomed out on something. Maybe there is a notch, I didn't really pay attention. There might be a seat where once the pulley hits it, it's in position. I should have had a look at that. So now we can get this off. And that pulley should be on there for life. There's a storm on the way. A brand new metal pulley on the water pump, and yeah, it's looking really good. It's a bit hard to show you on camera, but it is lined up quite nicely. Like I said, the belt is still fairly new, so yeah, let's get the belt put back on. Let's try and get this done before the storm hits, hey? Nothing like a bit of pressure. Up over our brand new aircon compressor. Up over this idler pulley here. VCT engines have an additional pulley. That's the one which I tend to skip and put that one on right at the end. Okay, that's looking good. All right, belt's on. I think it's time to go upstairs. Let's continue this after the storm, shall we? But that's looking really good. Now it turns out when you install a Haltech into an AU Falcon and tap into the AU Falcon's coolant temperature wiring, you can't run the Haltech and the AU dash off the same wire. It just doesn't like it. So there's only two ways around it. The first is to actually install a second coolant temperature sensor which the Haltech can use. Or you install a standalone gauge or dash which can connect directly to the Haltech's CAN system. And that's what I've decided to do, by busting out my bogan plastic welding and coming up with a custom mount which mounts to the top of the AU steering column. So this is a really neat system. We're bolting in the IC7 here to mock it up. And as you can see, I think this is going to look absolutely fantastic. I'm quite proud of it. It appears to be very solid, but I do have some additional gaps and areas which I need to finish plastic welding. I've also got a little hole here which I can poke a screwdriver through to install the third bolt on the screen. But now we need to get stuck in and finish off the plastic welding to strengthen it up. This is looking quite rough at the moment, but we're going to come back and smooth it off later. Now I did have a fan set up here to blow away the fumes, but even so you start to get into a bit of a groove and you really start to feel like you're making significant progress. After hitting warp speed, I need to cut out the additional pieces of plastic needed to fill in the holes on the mount. This is quite a time-intensive process, so we're going to skip along, and here I am routing off some of the rough edges. For good measure, I'm going to pump this thing full of araldite to really maximize the strength and just take the pressure off some of my plastic welded joints. We are literally pumping this thing full to the gills and leaving it to dry overnight so that we can come back and see how the strength is in the morning. In the meantime, we can connect the IC7 to my laptop and update it to the latest software. This is going to enable us to manage it from NSP directly. Overall, this process took approximately 10 minutes, where the dash was flashed to the latest firmware and then verified that it updated completely. From here, we can now connect the dash through to NSP and update it using the same software that we use to manage the ECU. Right guys, we are now ready for a test fit, and I reckon some of you probably thought I used my original steering column shroud here. No, I actually bought a used one from a wrecker. So we can swap this back to standard anytime we want, which is a really cool thing. So let's get this one off. I haven't taken this off before, but there should just be a couple of screws. I can actually refer to this one actually. It looks like there's at least 2, if not 5 or 6. Okay, so the steering column adjuster had to be lowered to pop that one off. And I reckon this top piece must be held on by the remaining 4 screws. So let's have a look at that. The reason we're doing this test fit is my design does kind of encroach on, like it does sit down a bit lower than what the stock standard panel does. So I'm really hoping it doesn't foul anything, you know, it doesn't hit or press against anything. Let's lower this down a little bit. More, there we go. So before we fit the screen to the mount, let's see if the mount actually fits. We're gonna have to Tetris, oh there we go. Oh, that is so close. That is ridiculous. Oh, look at that. Oh, that looks perfect. Gee, it's so close though. You have to have the wheel extended all the way out. And even then it's just clearing like the padded portion there of the dash. I could not have put that back any further. That is, yeah, that is, but look at that. That's a really good spot. So let's feed this out. At least when I install the dash, it's not going to be any more difficult to fit that. I'm just going to put 2 screws in for now. The third one, like, we're going to take the screen out, finish this mount off. It probably needs a bit of extra sanding and a little bit of paint. You're not going to see this on the back, but I'm going to know it's there. So I at least want to sand it and just give it a bit of black spray paint anyway. Feed this in. It is, I literally could not have made the tolerances any tighter than that. Cool, look at that. You know, the angle is sort of back a little bit, but it's pretty much pointing like 90 degrees to my line of vision there. Thankfully, Ford used really good quality plastics. I know that sounds shocking, but they did. A lot of Magna stuff of this vintage is starting to break and snap and get really, fatigued. A lot of the AU stuff seems really good. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you prefer what I've done here, mounting the IC7 in the AU versus what I did in the BA? I think this one has turned out way better. So let's see if we can hook it up and get it working. I'm just going to put the cable through here for now. There is a spot below or behind this screen where you can sort of route the cable down behind the dash. That's what I'll be doing. We've just got enough space in here, I think. Love it. So I'll bring you guys in here, have a look. Our IC7 front and center. This is kind of how it looks from my eye vantage point. So through the side here, you can still see, if it focuses, you got your battery voltage and oil pressure. You can just see sort of from 3000 RPM upwards on the tacho. You can see the 60 km/h upwards on the speedo. You can see the temp gauge, but that doesn't work, and the fuel gauge. The rest of the stuff, you know, it's going to be hiding in behind here. You don't really need to see a lot of that most of the time. And I do have a layout here which I've kind of configured. So we've got AC request. I don't really need that, but I had nothing else to put there. That just tells you whether the aircon's on or off. You've got your injector duty cycle, coolant temperature, intake air temperature. Over here you've got your wideband, so that's like your AFR, how well your engine is running. Fuel trim, whether it's adding or removing fuel, tells you how accurate your tune currently is. You've got your throttle position and also boost pressure. So that'll be reading just vacuum for now. But yeah, obviously when we have a turbo, that'll be showing boost. We've got our speed down here as a digital one, which I quite like. We've got our gear position and an odometer, which I don't really need, but there's a spot for it, so why not use it? There are some different screens here. I haven't set up these additional ones yet. So that's like a speedo and a tacho with a couple of metrics on the bottom. And this is like a data page. So yeah, probably gonna run this first one. I don't mind the color scheme either. But yeah, we'll see how it goes with the interior, especially at night with the other lighting colors. Look at that. Let's start it up and have a bit of a look at it. I have to see if I can do anything about that boot time. So we got throttle is working, fuel trim, wideband. You can see the coolant creeping up, 2% injector duty, tacho. Yep. And obviously if I put it in reverse, yep, neutral, drive, that's all working properly. Nice. Pretty cool, hey? Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this one. Oh yeah. And that is going to be it for this week. Sorry, it's been a little bit of a random episode, but yeah, just a bit of routine maintenance which we needed to fix, and to get that dash installed and working really well is amazing. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I did notice the air intake temperature sensor wasn't quite set up right, so I've fixed that now. And hopefully next time you see this project, you'll be seeing a bit more of this Pulsar turbocharger, because that's really what we're going to be doing next. And in order to do that, like I said at the start, we need to get an oil drain installed into the sump. I'm probably going to farm that out to somebody with more skills than me to do that. You're going to be drilling, yeah, that drain into the sump with the sump on the engine in the car. And if you mess it up, the sump has to come off, and to do that you either have to drop the subframe or pull the engine, so it's kind of like a fairly high stakes thing to do. So once the oil drain's installed, we can then start, getting serious. Until then, it's really cool to keep this car running and driving. I'm still perfecting the tune as it goes. Every time I drive it, it gets a little bit better. It's still running really well, super smooth. Ever since I adjusted that air intake temperature sensor correctly, it now starts a lot better as well. So yeah, we're kind of ironing out the bugs as we go. And then, hopefully in the next month, within the next month I should say, we'll start getting the rest of the juicy bits on, which I absolutely can't wait for. For those who don't know, this is a Pulsar 3584. I think it's a Gen 2 turbo. It came with a 15-pound wastegate spring, which is way too much for what we need. I've backed it off to a 5-pound spring, which in theory should allow us to use a boost controller to go up to 10, 12, maybe even 14-ish. You can kind of double the pressure that the spring is. That's how much boost on average you can kind of get out of an internal wastegate, I believe. So that'll put us right in the ballpark to be able to adjust it from 5 to 10, say, something like that. So I absolutely can't wait for that, but you are going to have to wait for it. So if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, share it with your mates. If you want some more information on this project, do head to motoringbox.com. I have a page set up there which has all of the information. It has a base tune if you're installing a Haltech Elite 750 into your AU. Everything I've done so far is on that page, so do check it out. Thank you very much for watching, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.